Who all remembers Cousin It from the Addams Family? I thought about starting the video today and approaching it in ways to not supersize my business, to not grow my business. Cousin It would be one way to not do that. Now, my hair's wet. I'm drying my hair today, so it's kind of a mess. But it sort of fit into the theme of what I want to talk about today. There are ways to approach problems, obstacles, challenges in our businesses that are positive and that are negative. Today we're going to talk about the negative ways that a lot of us, me guilty too, approach these things in our businesses that aren't necessarily going to help us grow and supersize and create the business that we want. And then tomorrow we'll talk about the positive ways to approach them, because I don't want to bitch and moan and talk about things and complain and point out all the things that we do, me included, and I'm going to talk about how we do that, and then not give you the positive ways that we can do it, that we should do it. And I hate the word should, because should is very relative. What I should do is definitely not what you should do, and what you should do is probably not right for me either. But let's talk about some of the things that we actually do when it comes to approaching a problem, a situation, a dilemma, an obstacle, a challenge, a roadblock, whatever you call it in your business. How do you approach those? What do you do? Well, whenever I come up with a topic and I think of something and I'm in a weird place, I grab whatever I have to write on and I start writing on it. That's my way of capturing things, because we get ideas all the time and we forget to capture them. And then 2 minutes later, if you're like me, you totally forget what the idea was. So yesterday I was thinking about obstacles and problems and challenges, because like you and everybody else on the planet, I too have obstacles, challenges, problems, dilemmas, things I don't want to necessarily deal with, but that have to be dealt with, not only in my business and growing my businesses, but also in my life. For example, right now I'm moving. I don't know about you, but moving traditionally has not had a whole lot of positive emotion attached to it for me. It's always been a move for the better, but for some reason, the actual physical act of packing and sorting and cleaning and throwing away and doing all of it, moving, it's got some negative connotations to me. So I was thinking about that yesterday when I woke up, and I started, brainstorming all of the ways that I'm going to admit it, in the past have avoided or not dealt with obstacles in a timely manner. I am like the queen of procrastination. Not a good confession, but it's true. I know I procrastinate and I put things off to the point of making them really a lot more difficult to deal with. And I do it to myself. So I brainstormed this list. Let's see if you do any of these things like I do. Obviously, I brainstormed the list, so they're all things that I have done in the past, and I may continue to do in some formats. Deny, ignore, bury my head in the sand, blame, bury again. I combine those together. Judge, hide, delay, pretend, deflect, postpone, deflect attention, put attention on something else instead of the problem or the challenge at hand. Procrastinate, delay, run away from, leave, ditch, deflect, frame, pin, shirk, responsibility, distract. Again, I had deflect and distract. Not exactly the same thing. All of these things to avoid change, and frankly, because a challenge or an obstacle requires change to overcome or to get around or work around, right? So all these things I have done in the past to avoid, number one, dealing with the challenge or the obstacle or the problem or the situation or the dilemma, whatever you call it. And again, what you call it will depend on the severity of the situation. And what you call it will depend on the amount of emotion that you give it. The more emotion that you give a situation, the more difficult it will be to deal with and to handle and to take care of. Now, here's the funny thing about trying to avoid change. Change is almost as inevitable as death, right? Because things are changing all the time. Everything in our lives, everything in our businesses is continually in a state of motion and change. So to think that we're going to avoid change, and when we see the change as negative, we do all these things to avoid it and to not deal with it, it's not going to happen. So we can continue to do that and set ourselves back and create more drama and more struggles and more challenges for ourselves, or we can find ways to deal with the situation that are in our best interest, because dealing with the situation is always in our own best interest. Otherwise, if it gets dealt with by default, the outcomes and the results of what actually happens by default may not help us supersize our business, may not be the right thing for us and for our life, may actually hurt and kill our business. I know a lot of people that have denied or ignored signs from the environment that legal changes were coming, business changes were coming, and they just ignored it, and they actually went out of business. In the state of Wisconsin, there's now, you can't smoke in bars or restaurants. And there were businesses that put decks on and did things so that they could still provide a service to the customers and patrons that smoke. Those that didn't, several of them went out of business. Like hundreds of thousands of businesses went out of business, not just in Wisconsin, but nationwide, because of the changes in the smoking laws. Things like this happen all the time. So if you're a business owner, you can bury your head in the sand and pretend it's not going to happen to you. But guess what? It can happen to you while you're not paying attention. So that's my little rant about, how we can not supersize our business by not paying attention to and not dealing with things that are negative. And that's our negative approach to change. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the positive approach to change, because there's always a negative side and a positive side to anything. Go out, make it a fantastic day, supersize your business in one small way today, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.